Today I've decided to talk about something I really know nothing about: politics.
Yeah, by the way, today Stuart Smalley is no longer a member of the United States Senate. Today's officially the day that he's stepping down.
I didn't know that took effect.
What's the matter, Liz? Why were you waving your hands over there?
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
But
so he's gone.
But he said he will still have a voice.
Well, it'll be an annoying voice, just like it is now.
Exactly.
You were pointing out something about that race because the governor up there is going to appoint the female lieutenant governor to the United States Senate. And I said that's always going to be a blue seat. And you're now trying to argue with me that the Republicans might have a chance in that primary?
I don't think I was arguing. I think I was trying to make a compelling case that...
You say potato, I say potato. Go ahead.
Well, Donald Trump only lost Minnesota by 4 points in a very blue state, which is surprising. And then, Norm Coleman, who was a moderate Republican, was the senator there before Stuart Smalley. So they have a history of voting in some kooks. Look, Jesse Ventura, the body, he was the governor. So I don't think you can completely write that seat off, especially since Donald Trump barely lost Minnesota of all places.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Al Franken does next. What do you think? He won't be going back to Saturday Night Live.
I was going to say, I thought he was going back to Saturday Night Live. He'll probably get a show on MSNBC.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen to him. That's exactly it. So Chris Matthews, I see this story, and I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Listen to what Chris Matthews said. Here, cut number 1 for me, Liz, from Chris Matthews. Listen.
Who's out there saying, if it weren't for that misbehavior with women and that Access Hollywood bragging thing, and for this awful thing he said about Kirsten Gillibrand coming in and begging for his money, I'd like him. Nobody seems to care. Why is it that this isn't grabbing onto him the way it grabbed onto all the other people that have been accused?
Chris Matthews has now been accused of inappropriate behavior on female guests. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Somebody quit, and there are rumors that there was some sort of settlement to shut her up from his program. But most of the allegations that I heard, and I think, I'm no fan of Chris Matthews, but what I've argued all along is that the danger with where this avalanche is going is that it's devolved from sexual assault and or using power to get sexual favors from an underling to the fact that some of his comments were perceived as inappropriate. Yeah. Like female guests would come on, or he'd have somebody on that he interviewed, and he would make some comment about their looks, and that seemed to be some of the complaints that I read about his show.
I think the line is, did people complain? Were MSNBC constantly getting complaints on Chris Matthews making remarks to female guests that they felt was inappropriate? I think that's the line. If people are coming out now 20 years later and never complained, they just said, well, Chris said this to me when I was on his show back in 1999, then I think that's BS.
Chris, so the Washington Times is one of the ones that had the article. New York Times had something on it too. Chris Matthews accused of sexual harassment. MSNBC confirms paying a woman. So, yeah.
I'm really surprised because I was calling when this came out a couple of weeks ago that he was gone. I said he's no bigger than Matt Lauer or Charlie Rose, so I don't understand how he is surviving.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. But like Franken, who was also accused, instead of talking about the allegations against himself, he wants to point the finger at Donald Trump.
Well, liberal. He's the president, so he's much more important than Chris Matthews, and that should be a big deal.
I couldn't agree more. Listen to David Gregory, who again, from Meet the Depressed fame, and now he sort of floats around to the different stations. Listen to him from cut number 6 here, Liz, please.
And it's here also because of how the president will position himself. The economy is everything in 2018 and in 2020. Yep. If President Trump can say, look, you don't pay attention to any of this other stuff. If I'm the one who keeps the economy going, he's going to make a strong argument.
Yeah, I mean, generally that works.
It's the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, stupid. And if this economy, Dow's up another 100 points today, the last time I checked, this economy's up, continues on this pace or picks up because of these tax cuts. I don't see, short of war with North Korea or something unforeseen, which could obviously always happen, I see this being a very good year for the Republicans.
You know, and you said it earlier, it's 2001, so it's hard, or beginning of the year, so it's hard to make predictions. And I do go back to that thing that the party in power always loses, or has the presidency, always loses seats. That didn't happen under George W. Bush in one of his years, I know, but I still think that I think it's going to be a good year. I think we're going to lose some seats, but I don't think we're going to lose control of Congress. I'll put it that way.
That's where you see it going.
Yes. Yes,
That's
I
good.
think we're going to lose seats, but I don't think we're going to lose control. And I think the Claire McCaskill Missouri Senate race is going to be a lot closer than people think. Claire is a very savvy politician, and I think she is trying to choose her opponent like she did last time. And I'll just leave it there.
You think she's trying to? You think she wants Hawley?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think that she can. I think that she wants Hawley because she can create a divide between Republicans who thinks that he's too close to the establishment and has only been in office for a year. I think she wants a divide and conquer thing.
Could be. Let me get to the phones here real quick. Kevin, thanks for holding on.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, we're talking about, the legislative path for 2018. I'm more worried about taking care of laws already on the books. Immigration, the travel ban, gun laws. We're not talking about those things. And to me, I feel like I expected more out of Trump coming up on his first year as presidency. I expected sanctuary cities to be closed down. I expected the funding to be cut off and even just basically ignore the Supreme Court ruling. I don't think he's done enough.
He's tried, but he's been challenged in court on every single one of those decisions, particularly the stripping the money from the sanctuary cities.
Yeah. With his own party has been challenged.
If I'm still on the air, one of the things the president can do, and there's only two presidents that have done it, it's long overdue, and that's Lincoln and Jackson ignored Supreme Court rulings. That's a fact. Judges can be impeached for their radical rulings. It's called judicial high-handedness. There have been 62 judges in the history of our country, federal judges, that have had impeachment proceedings brought against them, and 13 have been impeached. That's what we need more of, and that's what I want. There's somebody that I want Trump to push is the judicial branch.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, Kevin, thank you for the call. One of the things where the president has had a lot of success so far in his first year is on the judicial nominees. Yeah. There's no way around it. So when he took office, there were 105 federal judicial vacancies, which is an unusually high number. Mm-hmm. And he's made it a priority to fill those and fill them with Republicans. Yeah. Which is huge.
I understand the caller's point, but then I worry a little bit about separation of powers. I mean, all three of the branches are supposed to be equally strong, and it bothers me a little bit to see the executive branch kind of being heavy-handed in trying to control the judiciary branch by, trying to get judges impeached. You have to keep politics out of judiciary as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if I would not agree with the idea of ignoring the courts when it comes to some of these things, but I think he could be a little more aggressive in challenging some of these issues, like pushing, as he did with the travel ban, going straight to the Supreme Court and saying, please clear this up, because these activists who, they judge shop. Let's face it. They go to to some crazy on the Ninth Circuit who they know is going to rule in their favor, and then if that gets tied up in court, it could take years before it gets to the Supreme Court. So maybe what they need to do is be more aggressive in trying to ask the Supreme Court to review some of these lower court decisions sooner rather than later, because if not, they'll use this at every turn to tie up everything he's doing. And as of yesterday, speaking of things that they've tried to type in court, the state of California, in addition to being completely a bunch of dope-smoking hippies now, approved sanctuary status. January 1st, they became a sanctuary state. I'm not talking about this bill they passed in Illinois where it instructs the highway patrol and police agencies on how to deal. This affects every municipality in the state, basically, instructing their law enforcement on how to act. You can't ask anybody their immigration status, right down the line.
Yeah. And that's crazy. I mean, we have federalism. I know the federal government is a strong central government, and then you have the states that have their own autonomy, but you just can't make your state a sanctuary city and just allow illegals.
And remember, the Democrats were fine with that being upheld in Arizona when they didn't like what Jan Brewer was doing down there, and now all of a sudden they don't want the federal government to step in and stop California from doing this crazy stuff. I would agree with that completely. Chris Arps, Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year.
Looking forward to a great 2018.
I am too.
It's going to be fantastic, and thank you so much for your support and your participation in the Marc Cox Show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
We appreciate it. All right, that's Chris Arps. I'll tell you what, lots coming up for